The boy just wanted to check out the interior of the Ford Mustang, but Leo from Ford noticed and stopped him. Even though the boy apologized, Leo didn't forgive him. Leo even approached the boy's father and repeated the same words he had said to his son.
Is this your son?
Yes, it is.
Would you ask him to keep his hands off the paintwork?
No, Peter, you're okay. Who are you?
Leo Beebe, Senior Executive Vice President, Ford Motor Company. I'm responsible for the launch of the Mustang.
Leo thought his position would intimidate the father, but to his surprise, the father turned out to be someone Leo shouldn't have messed with. This seemingly ordinary man was actually the top race car driver, Miles. He was invited by Ford to help develop their top race car, a car that would later compete against Ferrari in the 1966 Le Mans World Championship. But just before the race, Ford was still trying to buy the struggling Ferrari. Unexpectedly, Ferrari humiliated them.
Brutte, insignificanti
That's your
macchine.
big ugly factory making its ugly little cars.
E dite a quel porco del vostro padrone.
Upon returning, Leo exaggerated the story to Ford.
He said Ford makes ugly little cars and we make them in an ugly factory.
About me.
Called you fat, sir. He said you're not Henry Ford. You're Henry Ford II.
Ford listened but didn't show any anger. He decided to find the best engineers and drivers. No matter the cost, he would build a car better than Ferrari's. He wanted to defeat Ferrari at Le Mans. Ford then approached car designer Shelby because he was the only American who had won at Le Mans. However, Shelby now suffered from a serious heart condition. After agreeing to work with Ford, Shelby reached out to his old friend Ken Miles. Miles was one of the few drivers who understood mechanics and also had top-notch driving skills. He didn't believe a Ford could beat a Ferrari, and Ford's executives were hard to convince. They wouldn't listen to any suggestions. Even though Miles wasn't interested in Ford, he agreed to attend Ford's event for the sake of his friend. He brought his son to the event, but as soon as they arrived, the arrogant Leo mocked him. Miles didn't bother arguing with him. He simply turned around and left with his son to find Shelby. Leo had hoped to build a good relationship with Shelby, but instead, Shelby introduced him to Miles. That evening, Shelby took Miles for a test drive in the GT40. After just 2 laps, Miles spotted the car's issues.
Well,
It's awful.
that's worse than awful.
It doesn't track. The third gear is too high. Torque is not reaching the road.
He even told Shelby the engine needed to be replaced. Following Miles' advice, Shelby reduced the engine's weight by 23 kilograms and used a new aluminum cover. Miles continued testing and offering suggestions, but what he didn't know was that Leo had a deep bias against him. Leo thought Miles was disrespectful and uncooperative. He refused to let Miles race. No matter how hard Shelby fought, Leo insisted on replacing him. Shelby broke the news to Miles, but this time Miles chose to stay silent, despite his usual hot temper. The race results soon came out. Ferrari won again while Ford, with all its bold claims, was eliminated. Ford harshly criticized Shelby, but Shelby seized the opportunity to point out the company's flaws. The failure was due to Ford's overly complicated system. Even a small approval had to go through too many steps. Although the car was still behind Ferrari, the bigger problem was the driver Shelby convinced Ford and was even allowed to bypass any executives and take full control of the racing team. Shelby brought Miles back once more and made him Ford's driver again. Miles put aside any hard feelings and resumed testing the GT40. But that night, Miles was involved in an accident.